And I feel like that's kind of what happened to me in high school too. Like I learned how to sort of, break open my own shell and talk to other people. And that's why like I gush about it a lot. Like I wouldn't be talking to you without Gab for one.
I wouldn't be talking to you without Gab either.
Yeah, like talking to Gab is like a very big plot point in our in this IRL story at least.
Yeah, in this IRL story. Let's talk about 2010. And the year 2010 in our real life. And I think this was around the time where what was your status vis-a-vis the whole rhythm game community at that time?
Oh, 2010. 2010 I would be in third year high school, I think.
You've already met Gab at this point by now.
Yeah, I would be tangential to the rhythm game community. I would know Edward, I would know Duke, I would know Gab, and all these three people like started. Well, no, not Duke, but Edward and Gab.
Not yet.
Yeah, not Duke yet, but Edward and Gab like were already in the rhythm game community. At least Edward was in the Osu community, and Gab was in the old people community.
Yes.
So like I knew these two people. I was friends with them, still friends with them. And I would be slowly introduced to rhythm games by those two. I would be introduced to Osu by Edward and Stepmania by Gab. But I never really started playing rhythm games until much later on. So that's why I said I'm just tangential to the rhythm game community, because I did engage on Osu for a bit in third year high school, 2010. But I never really like gotten deep into the community. Like I knew some people, like Edward, but I never really like made a name for myself or anything like that. I just knew people. But also was my first community rhythm game was Osu. Like I played Auto Jam before a bit. Never really got good at it. I never really like. This is back in elementary, I think. Auto Jam.
Automania.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, it was Auto Jam. Auto Jam.
No, as in like the actual online game.
Yeah, the actual online game.
Okay, yeah.
When I played that, I think I was grade 6, grade 5, so around 2007, I would say, but I'm not going to actually like give out dates since I don't know.
Yeah, let's not. Only the ones we're comfortable with, because
So, when I played Auto Jam, I was never really good at it. I like the songs. I like Fly Magpie. That was like the song. So I played it a bit. But eventually, I got consumed by other games like Dota, Counter-Strike, the typical computer shop games. So...
Oh, the early 2010s were very much Dota years.
Yeah. So, I already had an experience with rhythm games before. But in 2010, when I met Edward and Gab, that's when I really realized how deep this community goes. Not just the community, but the games go. Like, Edward was amazing at Osu then. Like, not just Osu the game, but also like mapping.
Oh, he made maps.
Yeah, he made maps. He was a mapper. I'm pretty sure some of the current... I'm not sure, but I think some of the current Osu players still know his maps at least.
I tried to map, but I never actually like submitted anything because... Yeah, I didn't stay for long in Osu, so
yeah, same. So Edward was in Osu for a long time, from what I remember.
I think he's still in Osu actually. Or I'm not sure if he quit.
He I don't think he's gone back actually. Like I think last time he talked about Osu. I mean, being in Osu was like a good decade. No, not a decade. That would
Di naman siguro.
like 5 years ago.
Yeah, when he moved to Japan.
Yeah, just before he moved to Japan. So I don't think he's engaged in the Osu community still, but I would highly doubt it if he didn't have like connections. Like if he didn't keep up connections, I mean, like that would be, he had made friends in that community anyway. So I never really tried Stepmania then. Like Gab introduced me to Stepmania, but like Osu was just a lot easier to set up IMO. So I played Osu. As I said, I didn't really play Elite Beat Agent, so I didn't really understand like the core mechanic, the core gameplay of Osus until like later on. We're like,
So it was
I
the
did
reverse
play-
for you. So you played Oz first and then the original.
Yeah, I
that
played
games
Osu
later.
first. Yeah, I played Osu first before the DS games. Like, and then when I played the DS games, like, wait, this is just Osu. What the hell? Did this guy just copy the DS games? It kind of did, but also brought in other stuff. But
I mean, I never really played that much classic. I mostly used also as a type of simulator.
oh yeah, like when I did play Osu back then, I mostly played it for the catch the fruit.
To catch the beat mode, yeah.
Yeah, catch the beat mode was really funny. I like that mode. I wasn't good at it because it was a really weird mode, but I liked the mode. It was really funny.
Yeah. And I know that was lifted from some other game also, but I don't know what it's from, or at least I don't remember what it's from. I know it's definitely some other game.
I've also not bothered learning where it's from. So yeah, for me, rhythm games really started becoming like a thing for me when I got a job. Well, this is a bit weird, but the reason I even got into like actual rhythm game, I mean not actual rhythm games, but the reason why I started taking rhythm games seriously was because when was that? Right after graduation, I think. No. Right after graduation, I did nothing. I became a NEET for 6 months. Best times of my life. Whew. But once I got a job, I had like more financial freedom. So I finally got to like go to arcades and stuff, and that's where I really started playing rhythm games. Like I remember the first lock test of Volte here in Manila, and like there were like huge lines and shit. Before having a job, I would be like, oh, whatever. But now that I had a job, I'm like, ooh, I can spend money on these games. Good stuff. Let's go. Like, yeah, for me, rhythm games didn't really start clicking in until I spent money on them.
So
I didn't.
The reason why I started making you discuss this was because like we're starting this thread where we're kind of like recalling the events that both led us to meet Gab. So that's in your case that was really early on.
Yeah.
In your
For
case, that was
me-
really early on.
yeah,
Kasi
for me-
because you went to high school with
Yeah.
Seele.
The thing with me and Gab is we didn't really meet because of rhythm games. We met because of another friend. Because they were like roommates in the dorm back then.
Okay.
Yeah, so since I was close friends with his roommate, and they were pretty close friends too. He eventually became close too because that's how transitivity works. Yay, man. Yeah, that was really fun times. Originally back in 2010, originally we would just it would just be me, that friend, another friend, and another friend, just staying up late into like the night in Pisay. Usually, classes end at like latest at 4:30 4:10 p.m. I think back then 4:10 p.m. That was the latest time, but we would stay in Pisay until like 7 or 8 p.m. And the weird thing is, most of two of those three friends were dormitory people, so they lived in Pisay, so they didn't really need to go, right? But
Were
me and the
you were you dorming at the time?
no, I never dormed actually. Me and the other friend, we were externs. We had to go home, but my other friend just lived near. It was like just a jeepney ride away. Meanwhile, me, I had like to ride 3 jeeps to go back home. So
Yeah, you
were
were
s-
always an East boy.
yeah, so I was spending so much time in school because of friends that I was going home like at around 9:30 p.m. back then, which is unacceptable for
Yeah,
teenagers.
for especially at that time and when we were still that age.
Yeah, like oh my god, my mom would be angry. But yeah, so during those times where we would just stay so late into the night at school, I would slowly get introduced to his dormitory friends, which one of which is Gab, and another one was Duke actually, and Edward would also soon join in because I actually don't know how. But yeah, he eventually just does join in. So eventually, there's this really weird group of people, of friends that has no really commonality between among all of them. But at least three of them played rhythm games. I know Duke started playing Stepmania in high school too, but he didn't really like take it seriously like me until later in college. He started in college. I started after graduating college. So for me and Gab at least, although we did meet back in high school and we were friends, we weren't really close until college. Like I think what happened was what actually happened? How did we go? Okay. What happened was so one of my original friends, Gab's roommate, being the smartest person alive, dropped out of high school because dropping out is like graduating early, right? Big brain, galaxy brain, amazing. So when he dropped out, he cut off contact with everyone. It was like dick move, bro, dick move. You already graduated early and you just drop contact with us. What the hell? So after that happened, the same circle of friends still met up, but it was clear that we missed that other guy. So when we got to college, when we realized Gab's roommate actually got into college, into the same college that we were in, we were goddamn elated.
As in like pares kayong IMAS?
No, he was same with Gab. He was physics too.
Okay, he was in NIP.
Yeah, he was in IP. I was in math. And then we realized that he was like, "What the hell? This guy actually got into our university, into physics for like all of the goddamn courses into goddamn physics."
I mean, I got into physics. That's not saying much.
I mean,
I
fair.
got into physics because like no other course the courses I
Oh my
applied to
God.
wouldn't take me.
Wow, that's actually kind of unfortunate. Oh yeah, physics
DP was
didn't
ako.
have. Oh wow, that's understandable. I
But I
knew
did
some
pass the
DP
Diliman
was.
cutoff, and I for some reason ended up in physics. Also, although the thing is that even though we're completely, we're me and Ralph are around the same age as each other, but the thing is, I entered UP in 2010 and he entered UP in 2011
Yeah.
for reasons that I could get to, but maybe not right now because
Yeah.
that's another story.
That's another story. So when we knew that that friend was in UP, we basically made up the whole gang back in high school. Like we made it in college, and that's when really like we Gab and I started like getting really close because first of all, NIP and IMAth were literally neighbors
Next to each other, yes.
Yeah, so it's really like just crossing. It's just literally taking a few steps and you'll be in NIP in no time. So it wasn't really a hassle to like visit Gavin, Gavin's roommate, or it wasn't. So what will happen is whenever we didn't have like classes, we just hang out with each other, talk about whatever the hell like what we're doing right now, and yeah, basically during then Gab already talked a lot about rhythm games, especially with Duke around or with Edward around. I couldn't really relate then because yeah, as I said, I didn't really play rhythm games until graduating. But that really it gave me context at least to what was happening in the early years, especially when it came to like the Technica scene in the Philippines. I would know some small part of it at least. Like there was a lot of drama in that community for some reason.
Maybe
A lot
we should
of,
invite Yorha for that one.
There was a lot of people getting hurt for some reason.
I think Yorha and maybe Renier
Oh yeah, definitely those guys. Those guys are like old guard people.
and
Yeah.
and redacted. I cannot
Yeah.
I cannot mention his name in this podcast without bleeping it out. His request.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, so there we go. So I would actually try out Technica in college a bit because there was a Technica in Techno Hub and Gabin and the
Rip, press F for time zone techno hub.
yeah, press F for
I mean,
time
it's been
zone.
dead for several years already, but still.
Yeah, but goddamn, that was such a good place then. Like
No, actually,
literally-
sorry. This was a big of a tangent, but the whole reason why Techno Hub was even a thing to begin with was because Time Zone Arena Trinoma died.
oh wow, I did not know that.
Or it was concurrent, but Time Zone Arena Trinoma died first.
Oh, that actually explains a lot, huh? Very interesting. So yeah,
That's my side of the story because my first arcade game experience, my first arcade auto game experience was Technica, and it was in Trinoma. But again, that's another episode.
yeah. My first
But your
arcade
first
experience
was in Techno Hub.
yeah, Technica and Techno. I would play a bit. I would. That's when I would like listen to like the current DJMAX songs that I like Melody and the Clear Blue Sky and stuff. Great songs. But yeah, I would play it a bit. Again, same with Osu, same with Auto Jam. I wouldn't play it a lot. It just didn't click in with me. Like it was fun. I like the songs, but for some reason, I just couldn't get into it due to the mechanics of the game. I guess like
Yeah. It wasn't immediate in the same way Stepmania was.
yeah, Technica was a bit weird of a game to be fair.
Wait, you're talking about Technica, okay.
Yeah, my problem with Stepmania was it was a bit of a hassle to like
To set up,
song packs. Yeah, back then at least. Right now it's pretty easy. Also was a lot easier compared to Stepmania. That's why I played.
Because was there already an internal downloader in OS back then?
I think the difference back then was the song pack download link was more prominent with Osu than with Stepmania. Like it's a lot easier to
Because
search.
you needed to know where to get your Stepmania files.
Yeah, you need to know where to get Stepmania files. Also, it's like here are the files. because you
files.
can't play the game without the files. Lol.
I mean, eventually, people would figure out that, okay, you could just either go to Xenios One Vanisher
Yeah.
and get Stepmania files there, or some other site that hosts their own files. There's a lot.
Right.
They were a dime a dozen back then.
Yeah, there were
I
a lot
think
back then.
Jubo and the anime files, the people who made sim files for anime songs had their own site.
Oh,
I think that was
I did not know that. That's actually pretty interesting.
We'll ask Gab about that. Gab's early history with Stepmania was with those files.
Yeah.
I mean, he got them again because Eternal recently became a thing with the friend group. That's another story.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's why I got into also a bit instead of Stepmania. So back with Technica though, I really like the songs, and I really thought like if I were to play a rhythm game, it had to be something that a song with a game with great songs. I mean. So well, fast forward a few years and we graduated. So Gab like excitedly tells us like, oh god, there's gonna be a lock test in the Philippines
For Sound Voltex.
for Sound Voltex and eventually Musica. I think it was concurrent, right?
No, it was concurrent. Sound Voltex
Yeah.
and Musica's
Yeah.
log test happened at the same time.
Yeah. So Sound Voltex and Musica. I was like,
We will
interesting.
devote an entire episode to just discussing the beginnings of the 2016
Yeah.
revival of the rhythm game scene, because we'd have to talk about things like Glorieta 4.
Right.
Like what happened before then. Like that's a big story.
Right. And there's like a lot of old rhythm arcade cabs anyway. So
I think this kind of video kind of deserves its own like mini doc thing. It's something that kind of like
definitely.
I guess it kind of deserves this big story, because how the music game, how it happened here was such a colorful story to begin with.
yeah.
In that, I think it needs that kind of treatment. But
Yeah.
we're fine to like discuss snippets of it here.
Yeah, like for me, when Gab told us about the lock test, obviously I didn't know what the hell is a Sound Voltex, what the hell is a Musica, and I knew they were rhythm games. I didn't know what they were. So when I did look at like the videos, I was like, ooh, what is this knob things? What is this button layout? Right? It really caught my eye. I mean, to be
Also,
fair,
like, buttons that
yeah.
spin.
Yeah, buttons that spin for Musica. And then the pedal? What is this? Right? So
They were arcade machines that were unlike any other thing that we have encountered up until this point.
definitely.
And note that it's not like the rhythm game arcade scene was completely like non-existent, but
Yeah.
because we at that point already had experience doing Gitadora.
Yeah.
We had both halves. We had Guitar Freaks and Drum Mania. We
Yeah.
had DDR cabinets.
We had DDR, we had PIU.
We had PIU, but if we're talking strictly only Bemani cabs,
Yeah,
we
we
also
had old 2DX cabs, right?
we had old 2DX cabs. Well, 3 of them, I think. We also had exactly 1 U beat and 1 reflect beat.
Wait, we had a reflect beat?
It was in G4.
Oh my god, I did not know that. I would love to hear the story about that, about Glorieta 4.
It was U beat Copious and
Oh.
reflect beat Limelight.
Ooh.
They were offline. They were never updated, and they never had any EMU's connection, so they were barely playable.
Wow, but still, just having those machines is something already. Since yeah, as we have said, the arcade rhythm community didn't really have anything back then.
It wasn't in a state where Quantum or Time Zone or any
Time
other amusement arcade company would actually tell its publicly announced that yes, we have this game.
Right.
Like it never got like marquee billing.
It
Before that, it was only like the fighting games, like or
definitely.
iterations of One Gun Midnight that got top billing.
Like, to
But
be fair,
but it all changed in 2016.
yeah, like that was when they realized just how big the potential audience would be.
And now for an intermission. Archive footage from 2016 of Seele trying for a perfect score on Good High School Exhaust.
So for me at least, that coincided with the time where I had my own purchasing power because I got my own job.
Because you stopped being a need.
I stopped being a need. Before, back in high school and college, I would, besides just staying in school forever, I was technically like a go to school, go back home person. I never really went to malls. I never really did anything else other than school or home. So when this new thing came in with this new fangled arcade cabs, I decided to like, okay, let me dip my toes into it, just like how I dipped my toes into Auto Jam, Osu, and Technica before. And something clicked this time, I guess, especially with Musica. Like, for me, I think the thing with Musica is it had a great song selection, although it was very limited compared to Sound Voltex. And also, the gameplay wasn't as hard as Technica at the start.
Oh, so Technica's gameplay was never very intuitive for you?
Yes. I never really played Technica for too long. That's a problem because from the very get-go, I felt like Technica was a bit weird. I did try playing it a bit more to the point where I could comfortably play like easy 5s, 6s. But never beyond that. But with Musica and Sound Voltex, eventually, I would play Sound Voltex a bit. Now all changed. Like, these are games that were really they were as flashy as Technica, but the core gameplay was just hooked me in. I really like lane-based rhythm games, as you could have probably imagine.
Well, Technica was a lane game, it was just sideways.
It was sideways. That was a problem with Technica.
That's your problem with Technica.
Yeah, it would be a problem. It would be one of my problems too with Maimai, and then I got over it.
Wait, so you weren't used to object traveling towards receptor in any direction kind of games. You only you only kind of familiarize yourself with games that have like vertical lanes.
Like from top to the bottom. That's why whenever I play DDR, I flip the arrows.
So you'd always play in reverse.
Yeah, because I find it easier that way. But yeah, that's really when I started getting into the rhythm game community. That's really when I started like talking to the people in the community, because back then the only people I knew in the community were like Gab and Edward, right? Mm-hmm. So that's when I started like talking to you guys. Wow, that was in so long, 2016, huh? It's been 4 years since then.
It's interesting how like this was how like, everybody who is now in this friend group, well, the people Gab brought together, have pretty much like their own stories. And I think let's segue here so that I can start my bit, where I'm going to basically tell you, because it's interesting that in the context of everything, we orbited around each other but never met until the longest happened.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
I missed everybody in UP by 1 year.
Yeah, you were a year earlier than us.
I met playing Technica, but the thing is, I don't think he recognizes me.
Oh.
So the thing is, I looked very different in 2010. The person who was playing Technika in Trinoma in 2010 is vastly different person from the person who is talking to you right now in 2020.
Yeah.
So let's start with my 2010 story. 2010 was when I entered college. I had finally stopped. Well, not really stopped. I was homeschooled for most of high school. So what happened was afterwards, 2010 was the first year that I was finally able to be permanently Manila based.
Oh.
This was the first year that I had freedom to go anywhere.
Oh, wow.
And I chose to go to Trinoma. Why? Because Technika was there. Technika was there. And Technika represented something so huge in my life because it was the very first arcade rhythm game that it wasn't the first arcade rhythm game that I played, but it was the first thing that I started using my own money to play, even though I could only play once a month or something very rare.
Yeah.
But DJMAX brought a lot of us together. If it was DJMAX who brought us together around this time, and then it started the process.
Yeah, that's actually really serendipitous.
Everybody, almost all of us, had experience with Technika, even though we all didn't meet at around the same time. You did not know George. You did not know Chris.
Yeah.
You did not know Renier. But every one of us was playing Technika independently in different locations.
Oh, wow. That's actually amazing.
Right? So, basically, the gravity just kept getting closer and closer together up until 2016, where Sound Voltex happened and everything collapsed into one place.
I really wouldn't know how large the rhythm game arcade community would be until everyone started congregating into that one spot. For me, I always thought there'd be just a handful of people playing rhythm games in arcades.
But we did not expect it to be such a thing, right?
Yeah, I didn't expect such a large number of people. We would literally need to keep track of lines. We would really need to write down our names
on a queue
to reserve our spot on a queue, because there were just that many people wanting to play the game.
Note that this was the SM North location test, and at this time there were 2 Sound Voltex cabs.
Oh, wait, where was the other one?
No, both of them were in North.
Oh, right, yeah. There were 2 cabs for There was 2 Sound Voltex cabs and 1 Musica cab, if I remember correctly.
And 1 Musica cab. And even with 2 Sound Voltex cabs, the line was
the line was just so long. People just wanted to play the game. It wasn't, and the thing is, it wasn't just the hardcore gamers, right? There were
it was casuals also wanted to play.
Me, people who didn't really play rhythm games before, or played just a bit. There were a lot of us right there just being just congregating in one spot due to that one fortunate event, from one fortunate gift from Beatmania of Voltex cabs. Amazing.
and the rest was history. Every other, almost every other active Beatmania game came to the Philippines in some way afterwards,
except for Poppin.
And Reflect.
Yeah, and Reflect.
Although Reflect is technically dead, so yeah. Reflect is not technically dead. It's it's a vegetable.
It's not
right now.
Musica dead, is what you mean.
It's not Musica dead. It's not.
Big F for Musica.
Yeah, big F for Musica. That game deserved a lot better than what it got.
Oh, it definitely did. I still remain I still remain of the opinion that Musica could have been a lot better game than Voltex if they put effort in it, but they
Yes,
didn't.
they didn't.
It's
But
fine.
again, that's another discussion on its own.
I learned to love 2DX anyway after it.
Well, okay. So about 2DX, here's an interesting thing about it. This is going to my origin as a
Right.
game player.
Right.
Because it's like 2006, 2007. Because nobody introduced me to rhythm games the same way that you had been introduced to rhythm games by people like Edward and Gab.
Right.
It was actually as a result of my snooping around on the internet, because the only arcade rhythm game I had access to at the time was a Pump It Up NX2 cab in the nearest mall to us.
Mm.
And I was like, what is this game? So it's like, it appealed to me because like, yeah, music, right? For some reason. Like, it just something about that game like stuck to me.
Right.
And I would want to play that game. But it's like, okay, how do I play this? So it's basically the version of that meme where we're like, we have PIU at home. What's PIU at home? Stepmania.
Stepmania.
It was not exactly PIU at home. So I found out that there was this whole other game called Dance Dance Revolution. And I was like, oh, it's this.
Yeah,
It was
actually.
this, but like with keys, because I don't have the dance pad to play that, so it just. But I was made aware that it was like a keyboard game because of the hardware limitation of not having a dance pad.
Right.
So around the next few years, I kind of immersed myself in this. Like, okay, so I began trying to look for leads about, okay, what is this? What is this game? What is this game? So eventually, I came across ITG, this game called In the Groove, and In the Groove players were known for putting custom songs in their game because of a little patch called R21, and the ITG community was essentially like one of the earliest like people who made custom songs for the game,
Ah, yeah.
and this was independent from Stepmania.
Right.
And it was through that community where I discovered 2DX music. From there, I started looking into 2DX, and then I tried looking for simulators for 2DX, which led me to BMS.
Oh boy.
So, from the get-go, in 2007, I was already playing BMS charts. Or at least, not BMS in the sense that original BMS. They were people tried to like replicate the arcade data, and I played some of those riffs.
Whoa.
Before. And the most interesting thing about that was that at the time, the current version of the game was DJ Troopers, and those were the songs that I am the most familiar with when I was earlier. My earliest history with Beatmania that was my gateway to Beatmania. The songs from DJ Troopers, and from there on, I started like, okay, so this is this is only version 15, and there were versions before that.
Yeah, actually.
And so I eventually discovered the other styles like Gold and Distorted, Happy Sky, and so on. So everything from up until that point, I actually was following news of 2DX releases starting from 15 and onwards.
Wow, that's been more than a decade. Oh, wow.
So I had been following the development of 2DX by myself, and as well, at the time I wasn't alone. I had people from the Beatmania style forums. Remember when that was still a thing?
Yeah, it's been so long ago. Wow.
And that was where I encountered people like Pepe, and who was going by the username at the time, and I didn't know who they were. I only knew them as like as Pepe. Well, Pepe's name is actually like that. He never bothered to hide his name.
Wow.
And a bunch of people from, I think, if the timeline is right, I think I might have also encountered Renier during this period. Maybe.
Ooh.
Maybe it was then, because like there was a dedicated thread in Beatmania style for specifically Filipino players.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you could have probably wow, that would have been amazing.
And I'm not sure, I'm not holding this person accountable for it, but I think it was Pepe who made it.
God, that's interesting.
I should ask Gab about his history with that guy. I think that although I think Gab's friendship with Pepe was more in the line of eroge.
Yeah, I think Gab definitely had. I feel from what I've talked with Gab at least, I feel like for the most part, most of his connections were made first and foremost through eroge.
Through eroge.
Yeah.
Him and Pepe and ZB.
And ZB definitely,
among others.
And then when the rhythm game boom happened, that's when
everybody started linking like
yeah.
That was when it started becoming 6 degrees of separation from everything. Like all the nodes suddenly started.
Definitely. This is amazing.
Because as it turns out, the nerd community here is way too small.
Yeah, it's very concentrated too, and
or at least everyone who does rhythm games somehow knows other people who are in them through certain passions.
it has definitely grown since then. Definitely.
So yeah, since Beatmania style forums, so I was homeschooled for the rest of the 2000s decade, and then I went to college and I started meeting technical people. So that was when I started practicing for Technica and Kitadora. Specifically, I was like a drum mania player.
Oh, good stuff.
Although I never got really serious about it because I only ever used the default sticks. But my main games were definitely Technica and
Drummania.
Because there was a time when Technica was so big that I couldn't get in line because I only had so much time, and I only had like an hour or two in arcades, and I look at the queue for Technica and it's like, oh, there's like 12 credits left. Okay,
Yeah.
So that day turns into a Drummania day.
Weird how that situation still happens.
It's so weird how the situation happened because a mere few years later, the 2DX shows up at Trinoma.
The 2DX gold machine
shows up at Trinoma. It was like, oh, 2DX, it's here.
That's amazing.
But the thing about it is that the surprise to me wasn't as much of a big deal at the time already. So I didn't really freak out when I was aware that the 2DX was already in Trinoma, was because I already had that moment elsewhere, and that was in SM Calamba.
Oh.
My father's side of the family lives in Los Baños, so we go there often in the year, and sometimes we would go to Calamba. And the moment that I noticed that when I went to Calamba, there was a distorted cab there, I was like, wait, what? There's a 2DX cab here.
God, wow.
There's a 2DX cab here. And it's like, I was not completely expecting that. I was already aware that the gold cab already existed, but I didn't. At the time, I was made aware that it was at the time in Gateway. So that was definitely the place I could not go to at the time. So I just I accepted. Okay, I guess I would be able to see the 2DX cab. And then out of nowhere, I go to Calamba. I was like, wait, what? Why is it? It's obviously a different cab because one, it's distorted, and second, something is very wrong with the buttons.
Oh no.
Like,
I've actually heard
good.
of like the 2DX cab in Gateway. And that's weird that since I think I lived near Gateway back when the 2DX was there, but since I wasn't really into rhythm games back then, I was oblivious to the fact, and now that I'm actually into rhythm games, I just wish I could have gone there back then and played the game.
Yeah, well, at least I had my fill when it was still in Trinoma,
Yeah.
before Trinoma Arena closed. It was after that when it moved to Gateway again. So around that time was a weird limbo because the 2012 to 2014 years were such a
Yeah.
blur for me because almost nothing for me happened rhythm game wise. And this was due to a lot of things that happened because I shifted courses
Right.
from physics to geography, and that means I became centered around a completely different building in the campus.
Right.
And up until that time, like this was around the time where things got really intense ACADS wise, so I didn't get to go out as much. So the only arcade experience I got from 2012 to 2014 was in Techno Hub.
Oh yeah.
And I was playing Technica there. And I would sometimes be playing the drum mini there. And sometimes I would be playing the DDR, the old DDR crowd that was there.
Oh, I remember that DDR cab. God damn, that was like.
I forgot what version it was. I think it was Extreme.
I think it was, yeah, but this is so old. I never bothered
It was very old, yeah.
touching it.
I mean, it plays decently enough. It's not as bad. It wasn't as bad as, say, the Supernova 2 cab at Trinoma, at least for me.
Mm.
It was a little better.
Was it?
Because for me playing at Trinoma was like almost impossible. Or not impossible. It was just really really tiring because you really had to like go at it. You had to go at the pads.
Yeah. I mean, that's really a problem with like the old stuff.
The old one. I mean, to be fair, that was I think the original cab.
Yeah, it's really a boon that we got actually new cabs when the lockdown happened. Can't imagine being stuck with like old, unupdated cabs.
So yeah, my rhythm game phases came in like every 3-ish years. So the 2007 to 2010 era was the Beatmania style era for me. 2010 to 2012 was the Technica era. Well, 2010 to 2014. And then 2014 to 2016 was the Maimai era because Maimai Orange. I started playing Maimai that early when it was in North.
God damn.
And it's so interesting that like I never really knew anyone. I was just like there. Because I didn't bother to make friends with anyone at the arcade because I didn't think that would be a thing.
Yeah.
And then comes 2016 with the lock test, and then suddenly everything starts coming together. People I met during the Bemani style era, the Technica era, the Maimai era, suddenly all converged in one place. And then like, oh, you know this guy, and then you know this guy. So it became like such a revelation for me that, oh, this is such a world that I've like immersed myself into.
Yeah, that's true.
And especially after like just seeing how many people were involved. And so we start talking about 2016, and then we start talking that our core group became what it is over time because we were the quote-unquote game zone group, even though I never played at game zone. Did you actually go to MOA?
I never actually went to MOA.
Yeah, we both didn't go to MOA, so we weren't aware of it at the time. I mean, I knew of the existence of the Sirius Cab. I just never got to play on it ever.
I never really played other games. Like for me, when the lock test happened, I just stuck with Voltex and Musica. I never really got into Maimai until a year later, and I wouldn't get into 2DX until a year after that, basically.
Yeah, that was you because like, you started specifically with
Voltex, and then I stuck with Musica until it died. And then
you're one of the OG Musica supporters.
Yeah, there were a few of us.
There were a few of you.
And when Musica died, I moved to Maimai. And then the problem with Maimai was like the same problem with Technica before, where like the lines are just too long. So I started like this. I decided like, okay, I'll play 2DX then. So, and here I am stuck at 5 then because I'm horrible at the game. Oh god.
I always had my eye on the prize. Which was 2DX. Like from the very beginning, it was my
Right.
to be able to play the latest 2DX cap.
Yeah.
And seeing it happen in action once we got the Copula cap was like, it was around, I think, since it was also like 2016.
But later, yes.
It was like October.
Yeah, actually.
It was so close to the release of Cinovas.
Yeah. I think we got the Copula, and then like just a few weeks or months later, it just turned into a Cinovas because of the update. And I remember that being like a big deal. I wasn't big into 2DX then, but like I remember people like clamoring like, "Ooh, we're getting the newest version."
It felt like it was to be 10 years in the making. Like, I got into rhythm games in 2006, and then 10 years later, we have a 2DX cab. That's the latest version
With online capability.
And it's like everything that I had been wanting has been like fulfilled at this moment, and that's special to me. Like, I was always raised not necessarily by 2DX, but the thing is, like, I was searching for the Beatmania games, but I started with my first family, which was the Korean music games, and I think I'd always keep a special place in my heart for DJMAX and Pump It Up and Audition.
Oh god.
Because those were the first music games I ever got into. I totally forgot to mention that before anything else, there was Audition, and there was someone who introduced me to Audition, and that was my cousin. Everything stems back from him.
Oh god. I Audition was pretty old. Was a pretty old game too, but I never really got into it because of the other side of the game. Oh god.
Sorry,
Like,
the what?
Audition was technically a rhythm game.
I know Audition had multiple
it had
game
a
modes.
rhythm game mode, but it basically was. It was basically a dating game.
The dating sim? I thought it was a different game entirely. I guess parang maybe Audition really was that, and then it just so happened to have a date.
Yes,
a rhythm game
it was like that. I'm pretty sure, at least for my circle of friends back then, no one played Audition for the game modes. It was basically like one big chat room and dating sim, where like you get to like talk to people and like, you know, date them online or something like that. Very weird game. So I never really got into it because the side of Audition that I knew was that.
I don't know what exact version I played, because for my specific game experience, it was only beat up and nothing else.
Wow, that's, from what I remember, it had more. Like, it had a lot.
Yeah, it had. I didn't know it had more until like way later in my life where I realized it was.
Audition is such a weird game. It's like a bunch of mini games stacked into a chat room game thing. Hence, and with avatars you like designed and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the, I feel like that's one of the early. It's like VR chat, but like way earlier.
I think this was around the time where this was during the Korean online game boom.
Yeah.
Because Ragnarok was a thing. But that's another conversation entirely. But to give a little bit of context as to what was going on at the time, this was definitely a Korean game boom. Audition, that basketball game I forget the name
Freestyle,
of.
I think.
Ragnarok. Freestyle, yeah.
Freestyle? Was it freestyle?
Was it?
Game. Online. Yeah, it was freestyle, I think.
Freestyle Online. I don't know what that game was called.
Was it on? Yeah, it was something to that. Because I remember your brother playing that basketball game a lot. Because he was really big into like basketball ever since then, but it was hard for him to like actually play actual basketball.
I mean, it might not have been
Yeah.
a Korean game.
So
even.
he just
But there was like also this was also I know Panda
yeah,
was definitely
yeah.
a Korean game.
What other games were on the same timeline? Oh, Flife.
Flife.
There's also Ran Online. From I don't. I think it. The shooting game.
Yes, it was also it was also originally a Korean game.
Everything is like Korean back then.
What else? I'm definitely missing at least one. Well, the original
yeah.
O2 Jam definitely.
The OG O2 Jam.
The OG O2 Jam.
God.
But yeah, so yeah, it was the Korean game boom. Oh yeah, now I remember what it was. Hold on. Let's see if this was. Nope, this was originally Japanese. Okay, so I will not mention the game that must not be named because it will trigger gap.
It doesn't
because
count.
it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Oh my
It's
God.
not a Korean game. Wait, but what if Grand
Was
Chase?
Grand Chase Korean?
Is Grand Chase Korean?
Oh wow! I
Yes.
did not know it was Korean.
Yeah, Grand Chase and Elsewhere.
Oh, understandable.
So yes, it.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was like
Gunbound, yeah.
There it is. Yeah, Gunbound. The early 2000s, well, mid 2000s rather, was basically free for all when Korea just entered the online game industry and it had complete dominance during that time. So it's interesting that a lot of our online experiences were originally like Korean things, and then we just moved gradually to Japanese things as we went. Like, it's easy to understate, but in retrospect, yeah, a lot of our early online game experiences were all Korean games. Like, yes, my first online game was Gunbound. That was a
Like
Korean game.
if you weren't playing the Korean MMOs, you were playing Dota or Counter Strike. So that was
Yeah,
so
it was
that
either
was
that or
basically
those,
like the entirety of the gaming scene, the PC gaming scene at least back then. You would see like people. God, I still remember going inside like a shady computer shop back then. It was all dark, all kids shouting, and I just see like people like playing stupid Ran Online or O2 Jam or like Dota. It was so weird seeing that.
I remember actually having a RAN online account.
I had a Ran Online account, but I never really got far into it because it's a very
Yeah, same.
grindy game, and if you didn't know what you're doing, you weren't gonna get far. But then again, that's all MMOs. Let's be real.
Let's be yeah.
But yeah, like the Korean game boom was really shaped the perception of people for what PC gaming was back then.